Good.
Well, I can tell you what's happening. They are doing abortions today. You can decide that when. They do abortions today. Don't medical abortions are doing
Yeah, I'm actually Jewish, and I actually I do. Just the reason why, I just think that it's just like a woman's right to choose. It's not that.
So what about
like I do 100% understand like Brad's point and everything. Like no disrespect whatsoever. I'm just saying that that's just.
My name's Tony, by the way.
Mike, nice to meet you.
Mike and Matt and
Ben.
Good to meet y'all. I saw you all over at the center. Are all three of you Jewish?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were saying about why you support abortion.
I think it's a woman's right to choose. It's like a painful process, and if they don't want to go through that, I mean, there's obviously like ways like condoms and birth control that you can prevent contracting whatever.
So
Becoming pregnant. However, it's not 100%. No way except for actually getting a vasectomy or some sort of like tube side whatever is 100%. So I mean, there are chances that things could fall through. So I mean, I just support that if something like that happens, they should have the right to.
Okay.
Or in cases of like rape and stuff like that, like the women would have the right
So-
to choose what they want to do with their child.
So are we in agreement that each and every woman is carrying a baby in her womb?
Correct.
Yeah, we're all in agreement with that. Okay. Then why should any human being have the freedom of choice to kill another human being?
I mean,
Why
it's
should we force
Nope.
someone to?
Ben, right?
Yes.
I'd really, I don't know how much time you guys have, so I'd really like just to have an answer instead of a question to my answer
Can
is,
you repeat the question one more time?
sure. Why would it be okay, according to your worldview or your beliefs, why would it be okay for one human being to take the life of another human being? Why is it okay for you to kill?
Okay, so there are obviously other ways like adoption, other things that you can do with a child if you don't want to have a child. But however, there are certain people who feel a lot more connected with whenever they're having a kid and want to keep that or want to wait till the time in their life is right to have a kid. It's also a financial burden for somebody who, let's say, somebody in college, some freshman, I'm not a freshman, but some freshman in the dorms or whatever is going and they go to the bars or whatever, they're not supposed to, drinking underage, whatever, but one thing leads to another and they end up pregnant. It's for somebody who's going through, has student loans in a dorm, to then have them also have the burden of sitting through 9 months with a child, while also having a job if they have to work and pay off their student loans, as well as managing all their classes, as well as just living a social life and being able to enjoy life as anybody would like to. I feel that you won't necessarily have time for a child, and it's a lot emotionally and just being physically and emotionally attached to your child when you give birth to a child.
So again, Mike, Matt, Ben, did I get that right? Max, Mike, Max, Ben, okay. So a scenario for you. Woman gets pregnant, she's a student here at University of Iowa. She decides to have the child. She knows it's going to be inconvenient. She knows it's going to make life more difficult. She knows her social life is pretty much done. She knows it's going to be difficult to raise a child, pay her student loans. Life's going to get harder. But she believes, as the four of us believe, that she is carrying a human life in her womb. And she does not think that aborting that child is right. So she gives birth to the child. And she's doing okay for the first few weeks, for the first month. But after about a month, everything just starts to weigh on her. Her boyfriend decides to up and leave her because the boyfriend never wanted the baby in the first place. She's about to flunk out of school, and she's still going to owe $100,000 in loans. So, in order to make those problems go away, she decides to kill her 1-month-old child. Nothing wrong with that, right?
It's on, yes, correct.
Oh.
I'm good, thank you.
I'm sorry. You said that there's nothing wrong with her killing her 1-month-old
I
child.
appreciate it, though. Thank you.
You said that there's nothing wrong with killing her 1-month-old baby.
I mean, of course, morally there are things that are wrong, but I'm saying as far as somebody having the choice to do what they will, I understand that them personally.
Okay, because I want you to know, Mike, that I've talked to thousands of people, and no one with a straight face and not just trying to be argumentative, but being reasonable, has ever told me that if a 1-month-old baby is inconvenient, it's okay to kill that baby. You're really standing. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Well, I don't think as far as from the standpoint of it being an inconvenience. I think from the standpoint of being a financial burden affecting the rest of
So
their
it's
life.
okay for the mom to kill the child. I'm not talking about a preborn child. I'm talking about a child out of the womb.
Well, out of the room?
Yeah,
Oh,
yes,
I thought
yes.
you were talking
No,
about
she
1
gave
month pregnant.
she gave birth to the baby, and the babe and about a month into the child's visible life, she decides that all of the reasons you mentioned that make it okay for an abortion are now too difficult for her, and so she takes her 1-month-old baby. So she takes her 1-month-old baby, runs a tub of water, and holds her baby underneath the water and drowns her baby because life's too inconvenient. Would that be okay?
No, but I see that.
Why? Why?
Yeah,
Why would
I
it be
see
wrong?
That the gray line here, which I don't think is much of a gray line, is whenever I'm not sure exactly what point it is, and I'm not going to make up facts because
I'll tell you my point as soon as you're done.
Yeah, that a certain point throughout, I'm not sure what the point is. Again, like legally anything. Again, I'm not a master at any of this at all. Clearly, you guys know. Clearly,
We're two guys having a conversation.
Yeah.
4 guys having a conversation.
yeah, I'm just saying my personal beliefs, and I feel that regardless of that situation in general, if there's, I feel like although like morally, like me personally, if like I were to have like a wife or girlfriend and they were to have a baby, like I personally think that they should like to have the baby. However, that's I believe completely up to the moral code of the woman who is.
And after the baby's born,
and after
does that still hold true that the mom should be able to kill her after the baby's born?
Adoption is 100% an option.
Is it still okay for her to end the baby's life for all of the reasons you just articulated, that it's okay to end her baby's life in the womb? Is it okay for her to stick her baby in the microwave? Is it okay for her to drown her baby? That's not being hyperbole there, that hyperbolic. These things happen. Is it okay for her to take her 1-month-old baby, put it in a trash bag and bury it in a shallow grave? Is it okay for her to put her baby in the oven? Is it okay?
Well, morally, I say
okay,
no.
why not? What's the difference between the person, we've all agreed that it is a person in the womb, a human being in the womb. What is the difference? What is the difference between the baby in the womb and the 1-month-old baby who's become an inconvenience? What's the difference?
Sure, I don't know enough about the subject to make points. I just I know I'm really accepting of everybody. Everybody's allowed to believe whatever they want. Everybody does whatever they want. My whole thought is there's different people who believe that at a certain point it isn't a person or it is a person or et cetera, et cetera. And I think everybody's agreeing. I think we're all agreeing that once the baby's born, it is a person. I think that there is the gray area that you were saying that is in the womb. What constituted it being a baby already, or at what point does it change from not a baby to a baby? And I think that's where a lot of people think.
1 second, Ben, and I'll let you talk. Well, you are people, as Jewish people, I believe. I assume you believe in God.
Correct.
Right? And I would assume that you.
People's moral codes, but I personally do.
I assume you have read the Torah, you have read the prophets, you've read what us Christians would refer to as the Old Testament, which for us is every bit as valid as the New Testament.
Correct.
God has said that He has knit babies together in a mother's womb, that He numbered their days before there was even a hair on their head. God has said that from the moment of conception, that is a boy or a girl, a male or a female in the mother's womb. That's the standard. So Max, in regard to what you proffered, I would ask you, what do you think, because if I heard you right, you said that, look, not everybody believes that they're carrying a child in the womb.
Yeah.
Some people would, and we've heard the argument, blob of cells,
People just don't know.
clump of
People don't know
tissue.
enough, so they go with what they feel
Okay.
is right.
So then, what's more important, what a person believes, or whether or not what that person believes is true?
Well, not everyone believes in God.
That's all.
I would say, with God being the authority, that every human being does know that God believes, because God has said in His Word that every human believes. He has testified to His existence through creation, and He's given every human being a conscience. We all know the difference between right and wrong, because God has written His moral law on our heart. What many people refer to as the 10 Commandments, those were not written simply on stone, off a mountain. Those are written on every human being's heart. So again, what matters, what a person believes, or whether or not what a person believes is true?
All right, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
It's sidetracking
Okay,
a little
sure.
bit. It's more about the whole discussion.
Because I do want to come back to this.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Sure.
This is what we're arguing. However, so when I'm trying to think of a way to word this properly.
Take your time.
So if somebody does not believe in God, wouldn't that be a sin to not believe in Him and to doubt His?
Oh, of course it is. Sure,
100%?
yes.
Then
Oh, yeah.
how are those people not punished in their life? I'm not talking about afterlife or any other, afterwards thing or before anything. I'm talking about purely in life.
Well, one, we don't know that they're not being punished. Sometimes God brings punishment in the way of prosperity, because it's exactly what that person doesn't need. Sometimes, the Word of God says that God is slow to anger, that He's full of loving kindness, right? So the fact that God is slow to anger, the simple fact that someone hasn't experienced the wrath of God in this present life doesn't mean they're not going to experience the wrath of God in this present life.
But so does that mean that people who don't believe in God should just be waiting around in fear that they're going to get screwed over?
Well,
They wouldn't be waiting around in fear.
The Word of God said through King David and through King Solomon that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Without a right fear of God, no human being has wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Okay? So, what's more important, what we believe or whether or not what we believe is true?
If it's based upon facts and trial and error and thousands of years of, factualizing things happening, then yes, you can, not thousands of years specifically, but I'm saying if there's, sufficient evidence that something is true, then yes, it's okay to believe something's true. However, to believe something's true and it not to be true, that's...
It's contradiction, right? Okay. Yeah. So has the world ever been flat?
No.
Many people, religious and non, for many years believed that the world was flat. Was it ever true even though people believed it? No. It's always been around, right? I could say, I could walk up to you two guys, Mike and Max, and Ben and I could walk up to you and I could say, hey, this is my friend Bernice. She's a 6'3" African-American volleyball player for the University of Iowa. I believe it with all my heart. Is Ben ever going to be a 6'3" African-American volleyball player at the University of Iowa? Female volleyball player at the University of Iowa? Is he ever going to be that? Does it matter what I believe about him? What's true is, this is a young man named Ben standing here. It's not a 6-foot-tall African-American woman, right? So in the end, it doesn't matter what we believe. What matters is whether or not what we believe is true, okay? Now I'm going to bring this home for you guys. And I want to do this in a gentle way, and I want to do this in a sensitive way, because I care about you as my neighbors, okay? 70 years ago, it was okay in one part of the world to kill you, because the belief was your people were subhuman. Was it ever true? Has it ever been true that the Jewish people were subhuman? No, right? You don't need to think about that, right? I don't need to think about that, right? Whether Jewish or Christian or Muslim, we are all created in the image of God. We are all image bearers of our Creator. We are all fully human beings with the same intrinsic value as human beings. The fact that a society said your ancestors weren't human beings never made it right, never made it true. So it doesn't matter at all what people believe about the baby in the womb. What matters is whether or not what they believe is true. And every human being knows, because God has given them a conscience and has given us the light of the knowledge of good and evil in our conscience, because we are image bearers of our Creator. Everyone knows that babies are being murdered here. But because they want to suppress that truth by their unrighteousness, because of their hatred for God and their hatred for mankind, they'll say, you know what? I'll just believe it's a clump of cells. I'll just believe it's a tissue. I'll believe that it's the moral high ground to say that every woman should have a right to choose.
I have two questions for you.
Right, go right. And thank you for your patience.
Yeah, of course. I don't mean to insult in any way, but my first question is it moral to force a woman to have a baby? Because if you take away this option, you may be forcing someone to do that.
Yes,
If they don't want to.
it is. Because God says, do not murder. Now, let me preface that by saying, I do not have the moral authority. I do not have the governmental authority. I have not been given the authority of God to force myself on anybody regarding the subject, right? Look, we are a nation of laws. The fact that something's been made illegal doesn't make it moral. Everything that Nazi Germany did was legal. The way that the United States in Germany it was legal. Everything that the United States of America did to slaves was legal. Doesn't make it moral, doesn't make it correct, okay? So this is exactly why we're out here, because we cannot, my friends, we cannot go into Emma Goldman and drag women out of there kicking and screaming. What we can do is what God has commanded us to do, and that is plead for lives and souls through the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's what He's commanded us to do.
And so
Second question.
My second question.
Unless there's more to come from the first one.
And this is the question that I'm not trying to insult anyone.
Okay.
But what evidence is there that God exists?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to play God's defense attorney in your courtroom.
Okay.
Because God's not on trial, Ben. You are.
Okay.
All right, God's not on trial. You
No,
are. You know God exists. And I'm not dodging. This is the answer. Because I'm coming from a biblical worldview where the Word of God is the authority. Okay?
Okay.
God says, you know that God exists. God says you know He exists. But if you take that position that you need evidence for God's existence, you're simply suppressing the truth. You're simply suppressing the truth you know about God by your unrighteousness. Professing to be wise, the Word of God says, you've rendered yourself a fool. I'm not calling you names.
I don't profess to be wise.
Okay, well, no, I'm saying this is what the Word of God says of anyone who says there is no God. The Word of God says, in fact, David, the psalmist, King David said, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God.
So
Isaiah said it also in Isaiah 54, 55.
all of these words come from books that were written down by men.
Okay. Have you ever written a letter?
Yes.
Now, we're in an age now where most people type. Okay, all right, so whether you type, right, okay, all right. But let's say you actually did it the old-fashioned way. You picked up a pen, piece of paper, right, remembered cursive writing or whatever. Who wrote that letter, you or the pen?
Myself.
Right. The pen was the instrument in your hand. God used 40 men over 1,500 years in 3 continents to pen His Word. That's what He did. He inspired those biblical authors from Moses onward to pen His Word.
Okay.
Yep.
I have to go to class now.
It's been very good to meet you.
It's good to meet you.
Yeah.
I think I'll head out with him just 'cause I have to head back.
Oh,
home.
Ben.
Yes. Nothing.
Please, look, just read it,
All right.
right? I'm not tying you down and shoving it down your throat, right? I'm just asking you to read it.
I'm not head out too. It was nice talking to you.
Good talking to you too.
Agree to disagree. However, I
just got
appreciate
Okay.
I appreciate your point.
Appreciate the
Appreciate
conversation.
your
Yeah. I appreciate your reasonableness. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you.
All right. God
a
bless
nice
you.
day.
Have a good day.
Mike,
Take care.
Mike, next time.